So, uh, my name is Adam Navende. I'm a teacher of biology. I teach in Mbale Secondary School, but I specifically teach of biology. I also teach with the Holistic Learning Platform, which we shorten as HELP. And then this is organized by Holistic Learning Platform under the steership of Mr. Kaziba Stephen. And therefore, we really thank him for creating these sessions for people to stream lessons for free. Other places they pay fees for the holiday learning, but here we are streaming them for free. Just simply have to load the data and then you access them. So we really thank Holistic Learning Platform and Mr. Kaziba for the great work he's doing. And then I also thank each one of you for joining today. I hope I always know the numbers always keep increasing as we go on. And so I know we have a lot of things we can handle as we go on. But of course, the time is always not too much for us to handle it. But hopefully, we always pray to always get enough time to take you through so that we can handle all your areas that you feel must be handled or that you didn't understand so well while you're still in class during the real time for teaching. So tonight I'm going to handle the viruses. It's one of the topics that you covered last term. Okay, so our competence is here. All right, so our competency is okay, sorry, just a moment. So our competency, all right, just a moment. As I try to access back at this. All right, so our competence is learners must understand the characteristics of viruses, their infection and transmission, and symptoms by prevention of key examples of viral diseases, for example, HIV, Ebola, hepatitis, and cassava mosaic. So we are going to understand how these diseases come up, of course, caused by viruses, and shall mainly have the HIV, the human immunodeficiency virus, the Ebola, the hepatitis, and then the cassava mosaic. So introduction, before we can even start, people are always talking about viruses. And I know this is not the first time you have ever heard about them. Even before the teacher talked about them in class, for those who learned last time, they could have heard something about a virus. So if viruses are not in the five kingdoms, yes, Samuel has something to say. Okay, Sasha, you can type it. Type that thing that you want to be shared. Type it. Type, Sasha. You can type. I saw your hand up. So I was only asking that we have always been talking about these viruses, even before the teacher coming to introduce them in class. So what do you think are viruses? And I know before this, we have even already learned about the five kingdoms. I'll maybe check on Sasha's. Sasha has not typed. I hope you didn't have something so burning. So we already learned about the five kingdoms. We began from Monera, we went to Protoctista, we talked about fungi, We talked about the plantae and then the animalia. We remember when talking about these five kingdoms, we didn't place the virus anywhere. So if viruses are not in the five kingdoms of the living organisms, do you think they are alive or not? So you can simply type for me your response there. You're thinking, do you think the viruses are alive or they are not? I'll read your comment, of course. Yes, can we type it? Do you think viruses are alive or not? Because remember, when you're learning about the five kingdoms, we didn't place viruses anywhere in the examples. We didn't put them under Protectista. We didn't put them under Monera. We didn't put them under fungi. We didn't put them under plantae or animalia. So where do you think viruses belong? Are they living or not? Jola says viruses are non-living. I wish you could attach a reason there. Then there is Sasha. Sasha says viruses are living and non-living. Why? Any other person to give an idea? Teacher, I want to talk. Rania Najuma. No, Rania, type it. Rania, type it. It really depends. When they are outside a host cell, they are non-living. But when they are inside a host cell, they get characteristics of living things. Wow, that's a good idea also. Patricia says it when they're outside, they are non-living, and when they're inside the host cell, they are living. Good. So that one is also talking just like Sasha said. Any other person? I don't see boys responding. Are you sure you don't have any boys? All viruses are non-living because they are not classified under any kingdoms. Okay, that's a good observation. Rania Najuma. Rania, why? Type it. Just type it. Non-living because they do not carry out all the seven life processes. Wow, Aviela, that's a good idea. They don't carry out all the seven life processes. That's wonderful. During they are both living and unliving. Okay, good. That is Samuel. Wow, Samuel is representing the boys. They are both alive and dead, meaning that when they are in the body, they perform some life processes. While if they are out the body, they are just air particles. Okay, that's according to Samuel, that when they are alive. Okay, well, we shall clarify all that. Wanted, a virus can multiply only when it is with the living cells of the host organism. Okay, that's why they are living or non-living. Wanted, you can improve that because they carry characteristics of both living and unliving. What are those characteristics, Sasha? Okay, so we shall progress. You keep them coming, keep them coming. Rania, Rania, I don't know.
So, teacher, me, I'm on both sides because on the side
Mm.
that they are not living, first of all, they don't have cells, which are the basic needs of life. Second of all, they don't reproduce on their own. They need a host cell. Then they don't grow, make energy, or carry out metabolism. On the non-living side, when on the living side, they evolve through mutation and natural selection. They can respond to environments like adapting to defenses, and then they replicate, but only inside living cells. So I don't know.
Okay,
Their organisms at the edge of,
okay,
let me call them organisms at the edge of life.
okay, Rania, thank you. You had the really wonderful ideas. It's good that you said them. I think that's why I wanted to say them because there were really many, but they are all right. Okay, so let's try to understand. Let's try to dig deep into the viruses and what they are actually. So let's go to the meaning of a virus. I usually hear some people call themselves viruses. I don't know if you have them at your school. Even just in the local setting, there are some people who have nicknames as viruses. I don't know why they use them. So we are going to go through what a virus is. So in a virus, something is very tiny. Like we always know that like bacteria are very tiny, like we can't see them with our unaided eyes. So you need a microscope, or sometimes you might even need a very sophisticated microscope, like electronic microscope, before you can identify them. Now it is even worse with the viruses. Viruses are very small, too small that sometimes the light microscope cannot see them. So meaning for you to see viruses, you must need a sophisticated instrument to see them. So you can't see viruses with your naked eyes. So they are very tiny. They are also non-living particles made up of genetic material. Okay. So viruses are very tiny, like we said. That's why sometimes you hear us calling them particles. You know the meaning of a particle? A particle is something when you crush, it divides into particles or into smaller pieces. But for us humans, for example, when you cut, for us, we come from a cell. They can't divide into smaller particles. Rather, when they try to crystallize us, we shall end up in cells. But for particles, it is a different story. Most of viruses. So viruses, we shall call them particles, not living things. So they are non-living particles made up of genetic material. Now someone can ask that what is a genetic material? You always hear of someone when they say they look at their son or daughter, they say this daughter doesn't look like me, so I'm taking them for a DNA test. So a DNA test, just like we said that the other parent is not saying that this child is mine, it means that there are some characteristics that baby is having that does not resemble the parent. That's why they are doubting. So it is the role of the DNA that should make characteristics that resemble the parent. So also viruses have those, they have the DNA to carry characteristics that resemble the parents. The word DNA in full is deoxyribonucleic acid, and RNA is ribonucleic acid. Both of them carry genetic material. For example, there are the ones which shall carry some characteristics from your mother. There are some people who they say this one looks like daddy, this one looks like their mommy, simply because of the DNA that you picked that carried the information from your daddy to you. That's why you look like them. And so they're also enclosed in a protein coat, and it cannot grow, reproduce, or carry out life processes on its own. So viruses, in our analysis, we know that they do not grow, they do not reproduce, and they also do not carry out life processes on their own, but they must do them in a cell which is called a host cell, which can help carry them and make them perform those functions. So instead, a virus must invade cells of a living organism called a host cell or a host to replicate. For example, the HIV virus cannot grow on its own, but the HIV virus shall only grow when it goes into some person. That's why it will be able to grow. Otherwise, if it is outside alone, it will not be able to grow. So viruses are much smaller than bacteria and are so tiny that they can only be seen using a powerful microscope. I've already talked about that. So viruses are infectious agents with both living and non-living characteristics. It is therefore paramount to avoid activities, behaviors, and habits that lead to acquisition of viral infections. So viruses are infectious. They can cause disease to humans or even to other living organisms, even including plants. Because they are very dangerous, more so when you come into contact with them. You remember the scenario of coronavirus, whereby even when someone just caught in a place where a person who has been infected caught also gets the COVID-19. So these viruses are very dangerous, and that's why we should avoid being involved in activities and behaviors that lead to the transmission of these viruses. Because when you get them, they are really lethal and they can lead to death. Do you know an example of a virus? You can, other than the ones I'll put here, you can give me some examples of viruses. I see Najuma's hand is up. Okay, I'm going to give a chance to, I see Rania talked, so I will go to Samuel.
Hepatitis C.
Samuel talk. I've unmuted you.
Hepatitis C.
Yes, hepatitis B. Good.
C.
Jeremiah. Jeremiah.
Yeah, rabies virus.
Which one?
Rabies.
Rabies. Right. It says rabies. Okay. Who else? Rania. Rania, have I unmuted you?
So,
Yes.
yeah. Me, I want to give animal, plant, and human viruses. So in the human viruses, I have measles virus, polio virus, and HIV virus, influenza virus, coronavirus. And then in animal, I have rabies virus. Yeah. And then in plant, I have tobacco mosaic virus, potato virus. Yeah, that's all.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Jorin. Jorin. Did I unmute you? Jorin? I don't know. Jorin, did I unmute you? Okay. I don't hear Jorin. It's okay. All right. Maybe you can type it. Just type it in the chat box and save that as well. Jeremiah, they are both okay. Ebola virus, good. Polio, COVID-19, tetanus. Sure, no. We shall not take all these ones. Not all of them are caused by viruses. Tetanus, no. Okay. Tetanus is not caused by a virus. Okay, so let's simply go through some of them here. So we have viruses can infect various hosts, including humans, animals, plants, and even bacteria. There are some examples. We have human immunodeficiency virus that causes AIDS by attacking the immune system. It's very common. Then we have influenza virus that causes flu, which leads to fever, cough, and fatigue. I know flu is the most common thing among us. Then we have the coronavirus that causes COVID-19, a respiratory illness. Let's see, very many people are aware of that because it caused a lot of hiccups just of late. Then we have hepatitis B virus that affects the liver and can cause chronic liver disease. Yes. Then we have the cassava mosaic virus that causes cassava mosaic disease in cassava plants. And specifically according to our directive by the curriculum, we shall mainly handle the HIV virus, we shall handle the Ebola virus, hepatitis B, and then we shall also handle the cassava mosaic only. So we shall go to what does a virus look like? I know, just like we said, people are always talking about a virus, but they even call themselves as virus. So we should understand, if someone calls themselves a virus, what are they really made up of? And of course, for us in this case, we're only talking about, we want to find out, how did the COVID-19 look like? How does the HIV virus look like? Okay, Samuel has something to say. Samuel.
A virus is unicellular, meaning made up of one cell.
Samuel?
The virus is unicellular, meaning it's made up of one cell.
Says the virus is unicellular, means made up of one cell. Okay. Rania?
So teacher, in the genetic material, the virus, it, it can be like DNA or RNA. It can be single-stranded or double-stranded. Yeah. And then in the protein coat, it is made of repeating protein subunits, helps the virus attach to and enter host cells. And then in some viruses, they have viral proteins that help with infection. And some of them are found like in HIV and influenza. Then in the surface proteins or spikes, they stick out from the capsid or envelope. And then they are crucial for recognizing and binding to host cells. For example, the spike protein. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your ideas. Good. Rania said that they are made up of DNA or RNA. Of course, they are made up of one of that, not two of them. Can be having DNA or RNA. Now, she also said that they are single-stranded and double-stranded. No, DNA is double-stranded and then the RNA is single-stranded. So usually when you say that they have DNA or RNA and they have double-strand or single-strand, you are usually repeating. It is the DNA that has double-strand, then RNA has single-strand. Just like we said, the role of that is to carry genetic information or instructions. So we shall systematically break down what makes up a virus here. So just like the virus has a simple structure designed for infection and replication. So usually it is the role of the outside part of the virus that plays the role of infection. And then the inside part plays the role of replication. And you should bear in mind that all these things happen only if the virus is in the host cell. A host cell is that cell which is carrying the virus. Its core contains genetic material. It can either have DNA or RNA that carries the genetic information for making new viruses. This is protected by a protein coat called the capsid. Capsid is found on the outside of the virus, and its main role is to prevent the virus from being eaten by the host cell. Because remember, as the virus is in the host cell, it is making the host cell sick. So the host cell shall try to fight the virus, and therefore the virus should look for the way of protecting itself from the host cell. And therefore, that's why it has that capsid, which determines the virus's shape also. Then some viruses also have one additional lipid-based envelope derived from the host cell. And the main purpose of that is to confuse the virus so that it cannot be digested by it. Okay, I'm seeing many messages accumulating. Maybe I'll check. Please, just like I said in the start, don't use the chat room for discussions which are outside there, what you are learning. Okay? Do that. Don't use the chat room for discussions which are not on the viruses, for example, for today. So we have we also say that they contain surface proteins or spikes to help the virus recognize and attach to host cells. The non-enveloped viruses lack this outer layer, complex. Viruses like bacteriophages may also have tail structures and fibers for injecting genetic material into bacterial cells, mostly if it is the case of bacteriophages. So I want to show you here the structure of a virus, and then I will give you a summary of what a virus is. Of course, you have many kinds of viruses, but this is a typical one that I can show you. So you see the protein coat lining the outside of the virus, and then the genetic material, which in this case can be the RNA or the DNA. If it is the RNA, then it is made up of one strand like that one. But if it is DNA, it has two strands. So it is too small, like you see that one is 10 nanometers, meaning it is something very, very small that you can't see with your naked or unaided eyes. So to simply put it, a virus has mainly the protein coat for protection, and then of course it also has the other spikes for anchorage, and then it has the genetic material that is responsible for carrying characteristics from the parent to the new viral, to the new viruses. So we shall go to the characteristics of viruses. The first one, we shall of course say, remember we said that viruses are either living or non-living. So meaning we are going to find the characteristics that classify them as living. Then we shall also identify some characteristics that characterize them as non-living. And therefore we shall start with the characteristics that characterize them as living first. So we say, like other living cells, a virus has genetic material. So not all living cells, even yours, even for plants, even for bacteria, all of them have the genetic material, which can be DNA or RNA. And the purpose of it is to carry information from the parent to the new young that are being produced. They also have they multiply when inside living cells. Like we said, viruses, when they have attacked a living cell, so they are inside the host cell, they are able to increase their numbers. So meaning they are capable of reproducing while inside the host cell. And because of that, they can characterize them as living. They also carry out metabolism when inside living cells. Of course, when they are inside living cells, they can carry out processes that can help them make energy. Even just you yourself, anytime you go without eating, you said, I'm feeling hungry and I don't have enough energy. So you must eat, and after eating, the food shall undergo metabolism, giving energy that can enable you live or perform the life processes. Therefore, also these viruses, when they are inside host cells, they can carry out life processes, and they can change, mutate into new strains. So also there is a characteristic of living things mutating. Mutating means changing. I know you always watch cartoon, you talk about the mutants. What mutants are the things which have changed and they don't look like their parents. So viruses are also capable of mutating or changing into new strains. So those are the characteristics that can identify viruses as living. Unless you have any other that you wish us to add. Otherwise, I will take you to the characteristics that make viruses non-living. So the first one is they are not made up of cells. So in other words, that's why I told you that we don't call viruses viral cells, but rather I call them viral particles. Because when you crystallize them, they be going to particles instead of going into cells. Number two, they do not need to eat in order to live. Viruses can go dormant for a long time under the latent period. So during that time, it means that they can also live without eating, unlike other living organs that can always eat for them to get energy. But for the viruses, they can live without eating. and then need a host cell to multiply or reproduce. So just like I earlier said, is that they can reproduce, but they can only do that when inside the host cell, meaning when a virus is not inside the host cell, you not be able to reproduce. They can also need a host to carry out metabolism. So for them to make energy, they need the host cell to house them before they can make energy. Also crystallize and become completely inert if isolated from host cells. Should you pick a virus and then you take it out of its host cell, and it will completely not be active, okay? However, it won't mean that it is dead. So as I said, viruses can be crystallized. Please, Motorola, what's the problem? Okay. So let's proceed. And then at this rate, we shall go to how the viruses or viral infections are transmitted. So before we reach here, okay, let's start with the methods, because this is the most important one so for now. So we are going to talk about how viruses are transmitted from one person to another. So always here, there are many myths on how some diseases are transmitted. But with the improvement in education and technology, we often find the right ways how these things come up. I know even you, there are some myths that they have told you on how people get infections. And therefore, since you're talking about the viruses, we shall try to clarify on them. I don't know if you have any myth that people say in your areas about these infections. You shall maybe take HIV, Ebola, or any other. Usually, for example, HIV is the one which has the most myths. So some people think that, but when you shake a person suffering from, when you shake a hand of a person suffering from HIV or AIDS, it can also get you. So those myths are the ones we are going to put right today. So the first one is we have picked the examples and then how they are transmitted. Elijah asks, so why are viruses not reconsidered to be living things? Just like we said, the whole of the criteria that you can use to differentiate viruses as living or non-living is when they are in the host cell and when they are out of the host cell. So to simply put it, a virus is only living if it is in the host cell. But when it is outside the host cell, it is non-living. Okay? Yes. All right. So we have direct contact through blood, for example, HIV, body fluid like sweat, saliva, for example, COVID-19. You always remember the HIV. Now, the direct contact through blood, it is direct contact through blood. We said when you shake someone's hand, and that person has HIV, it doesn't get you. It only gets you if there is a wound and then there has been an exchange of blood between you and that person. That's when it can get you. We can also move through the body fluids like sweat, saliva, for example, COVID-19 and Ebola. And then secondly, we have the feeding on contaminated food and using contaminated water, for example, poliomyelitis, the one you commonly call polio. So when you eat dirty food or contaminated food, using contaminated water, you can get poliomyelitis. Then the third one is droplet infections. Droplets refers to those fluids that are coming out of your body. For example, when you sneeze, that comes out is the one we call the droplets. So then if we are carrying infections, these droplets may contain viruses, which may remain suspended in the air or fall to the ground, ending up affecting healthy people, especially respiratory infections like influenza. It is not you can get influenza if you're still near someone who has it and then they sneeze, they didn't close their nose. Obviously, they shall have COVID-19 or influenza in that air, and if you inhale it, you'll also definitely get that infection. So those are the main three ways that these viruses can be transmitted. They can be transmitted through direct contact, through the blood, or they can also be transmitted through feeding on contaminated food, for example, polio, then droplet infections, for example, influenza or COVID-19. And so let's go to the disease caused by viruses. Viruses are pathogens that penetrate into the host cells and destroy the cells in which they reproduce, leading to infection or diseases. Now, remember that viruses cannot live on their own, so they need the host cell. Now, the only mistake they make is after them going into the host cell and during their stay there, they can have effect on the host cell, therefore damaging it. Meaning when they have damaged the host cell, this cell is going to be sick and therefore it can lead to the infection or disease. So viruses can cause diseases in various hosts, including humans, animals, plants, and bacteria. Some diseases they can cause can be mild. Mild means they show smaller signs. The intensity of the signs is small. Like you might not see it as you're very sick. That's the meaning of mild. While others can cause severe. Severe means they will cause an infection that is really of great harm to you, or even cause pandemics. You remember the pandemic which began in 2010, I mean in 2020, in Uganda. I think you remember it very well. So the pandemic means a disease which can cause great alarm in the whole world, and it even cut off people from moving. The most common viral infections include AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome caused by HIV virus, have hepatitis B, hepatitis E, and then you have cassava mosaic, have Ebola, influenza, and then among others. Now the next part you're going to go through is we are going to try to understand the spread or the transmission and then of these viruses and the kind of disease they cause to the people, their signs and symptoms, and then how we can prevent such diseases. So unless you have any question concerning what I've talked so far on the introduction to the viruses, then you may ask me. Any questions? Should I proceed? If you don't have any questions, you can ask me to proceed by typing in that chat box. Then I can take you through the different viral diseases. No response?
Teacher,
Yes. Can hear you.
so you have disabled so you have disabled us from chatting with everyone. Now
Yeah, because
don't
if people were
some people
just
cannot
some people
some people cannot text what their questions are.
okay, then maybe I shall just be talking because some people can misuse the chat room. That's why at times. Yeah. Trisha,
I have a question.
you can go ahead and
Can
ask.
can contact with infected animals or like feeding on infected animals, can it also be a way of transmitting viruses?
Beg your pardon?
Like, can contact with infected animals or feeding on infected animals, can it be like how of transmitting viruses?
It depends. It depends. But of course, there are a number of viruses. There are a number of viruses which are spread differently to the humans. If we take an example of rabies, of course, rabies you can get it if you get a bite from a dog. That which dog also has rabies. That's why they can transmit from the dog to yourself. So by depending on the kind of virus, and unless if it is having a vector as that animal, and then maybe you eat half cooked or you eat unready food, that's when you can get it. But of course, it depends on the kind of the virus itself. But in this case, that's why I said we are limiting to the HIV, the Ebola, hepatitis B, and then the cassava mosaic only. Okay?
Oh, thank you.
Unless you had a specific viral disease. All right, so we can proceed now. And we have begun with the human immunodeficiency virus that we commonly call HIV. So HIV is a virus that attacks the body's immune system, meaning it attacks mainly the ones you commonly call the white blood cells. It attacks that one. And then when it has attacked the white blood cells, it means that it's going to cause the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome that we commonly call AIDS, which occur at the most advanced stage of the infection. So usually you don't get HIV in the first years. It is only after some time that you can get the AIDS, but at first you only get the HIV. So when the immune system has been completely weakened, that's when you get AIDS. So HIV targets the body's white blood cells, like I've said earlier, weakening the immune system. This makes it easier to get sick with other diseases. Infection is because the body finds it hard to fight off other infections. HIV virus is one of the major problems faced by Ugandans. I'm sorry, I'll mute a bit because there's a lot of noise. Meanwhile, as muting, you can also be talking. You can raise up your hand. I want you to share your views on what you think are the common causes of HIV virus and why it has persisted in Uganda, more so in your area. You can raise up your hand and then you mention your view, why you think it has persisted and it has started to eliminate HIV from our country.
Mm. Teacher, the reason why HIV has persisted, maybe in Uganda or in our local area, is because there is gender vulnerability. So women and girls, especially adolescents, face higher infection rates due to gender-based violence, limited access to education, and economic dependence. Then it has high-risk populations, such as sex workers, men who have sex with men, and people who infect drugs face stigma and barriers to health care. These populations often lack consistent access to prevention tools like PrEP or clean needles. Then in the geographic hotspots, HIV prevalence is higher in urban centers, trading hubs, and transport corridors, where mobility and transactional sex are more common. Then in the funding and resource gaps, Uganda's HIV programs have historically relied on international donors. Reduced funding has strained prevention and treatment efforts. Then in the testing and treatment gaps, treatment interruptions, especially during pregnancy or breastfeeding, can lead to new infections, including mother-to-child transmission. And in the culture and behavioral factors, despite awareness campaigns, some communities will struggle with misinformation, stigma. Yeah. And then the
Okay, let's pick up. So we have that's the HIV virus. That's how it looks like. Of course, this is just the top picture of it. But these are the main insights from the USAID, or the one you call the United States AIDS, and of course the UK AIDS. According to it, they said globally there are about 40.8 million people who are living with HIV, with an adult 15 to 49 years prevalence of around 0.7%, meaning in every 100% of the living people, it's only 0.7 that have the virus or that have HIV, while 1.57 million adolescents 10 to 19 years, and then 3.2 million younger people 15 to 24 are affected, though only about 60% are on treatment, meaning the majority of the people, 40%, don't know whether they have the virus or not. And maybe if they know, then they are not on treatment. So they are just out there living. And this is so in 2024, this age group accounted for for 370,000 new infections in Uganda. So just like according to the records here, the most spread of HIV is among the adolescents, people who are between 14 to 24. Those are the ones who are having the most HIV numbers. So that's why, and I'm sure majority of you are either coming to or in that age bracket. So you should always be remember that you should, just like we began earlier, said you should prevent yourself from behaviors that can put you at a cost of getting HIV or any other viruses. And adolescent girls and younger women bear a disproportionate burden. So among those numbers, majority of the people who are having the virus are the girls and women. So meaning they account for the biggest numbers among the youths, with the prevalence estimated at 4 times higher than males. So meaning for every 5 people, you'll find four females with HIV and then 1 male with HIV. And this just like I've quoted here that majority of it is being under the adolescents, so between 14 to 24. So you have all the reasons to prevent yourself from being infected by the HIV. So this is of course the one I'm from giving is from 2024, but this is the one for 2023. It is not any different from the one of 2024. The only difference is here, the numbers have increased. We have more HIV infections as compared to 2024. Understanding the signs and symptoms of viruses, of course, that is more important also. The symptoms of HIV vary depending on the stage of infections. So there are sometimes usually people can just judge using their eyes. They see someone is growing thin, they're like, that one has HIV. Maybe they see someone developing red lips, they're like, that one has HIV. I see someone is a bit emaciating, they are losing their hair, say that one has HIV. That's not the usual way we can judge if someone has HIV or not. It's wrong. The most symptoms, we are going to cover them today, and we're going to understand how to tell if someone has HIV or not. So maybe you can, someone can tell me the signs they think of people who have HIV according to them in their local setting. You can raise up your hand. Samuel, you're muted. I mean, you're unmuted.
Oral thrush. Oral thrush.
Oral harassment.
Most of them look weak.
Chronic cough. And memory loss.
Itchy rashes around the skin.
Simon. Okay, let's go to Rania.
Teacher, they have fever and chills, fatigue and headache. Some get sore throats. Some have muscle and joint pain, skin rash, night sweats. And yeah, that's all.
Okay, thank you. We have Jorin. Jorin. Jorin, did I unmute you? So Jorin didn't get unmuted. Okay, so we shall proceed. From there. Go through some of the signs. HIV spreads more easily. You can type it. Jojo, you can type it. More easily in the first few months after a person is infected, but many are unaware of their status until the later stages. In the first few weeks after being infected, people may not experience symptoms. So it's not a must that when you've got it today, then you see the signs immediately. No, it'll take some weeks or even some months. Some people can even be dormant for a bit of a longer time. Okay. So others may have an influenza-like illness, including fever, headache, rash, sore throat. So that one will be common. And then the infection is progressively weakens the immune system, and this can cause other signs and symptoms like swollen lymph nodes. And the lymph nodes are always found under your armpits. They're also found between your genitals. They're also found at the neck region there, just below your throat. So those are the lymph nodes. Anytime you see them swollen, it is also a good indicator that you could be having HIV virus. And then weight loss, usually it is also a sign. Then we have fever, we have diarrhea, we have cough. All those can be signs that can come progressively after a number of weeks or months after the infection. But this is an important thing to note that without treatment, people living with HIV infection can also develop severe illness such as tuberculosis. That's why they say that if someone has tuberculosis, there are also greater chances that those such people can also be having HIV. And also, if you have HIV and you're not under treatment, it is possible to get tuberculosis. So that one comes due to the weakened immune system. And then we go to the transmission of the virus. Of course, HIV can be transmitted via the exchange of body fluids from people living with HIV, including blood, breast milk, semen, and vaginal secretions. So through all those Okay, so we can proceed. We want the transmission of the HIV virus. And we talked about how it is spread. And also, babies can get through the breast milk. It's possible. Also have it through semen, or have also getting it through vaginal secretions. Other ones can make you get HIV. Then HIV can also be transmitted to a child during pregnancy and delivery. That's why pregnant mothers are always asked to go for antenatal care, more so for the good of the baby. So people cannot become infected with HIV through ordinary day-to-day contact, such as kissing, hugging, shaking hands, or sharing personal objects, food or water. So those ones can give you HIV, like we said earlier. Risk factors that can lead to infection is the main risk factors are behaviors and conditions that put people at greater risk of contracting HIV are one, having anal or vaginal sex without a condom. That's the first thing which puts you at a greater risk. But of course, for us at this age, you can't be exposed to the best way to prevent is to abstain. But of course, these are if you get yourself into such a behavior, and that's when you can get the infection. And then we have having another sexually transmitted infection or STI, such as syphilis, herpes, chlamydia. All these ones can put you at a greater risk of getting the infection. And then we have, of course, this one also can bring in the HIV in the way that, when someone has used so much used the drugs, they fail to control their bodies and they become so weak. Therefore, they can easily be, they can easily be infected by the HIV. Also have sharing contaminated needles, syringes, and other injecting equipment. For those people who take drugs, people who can use morphine, and this one needs injection. And remember, usually when these people are meeting, they don't have to ask if someone has used it or not. But when the other person uses it, they also simply ask for it and they also use it. And in the course of doing that, they also get infected. Also, we have receiving unsafe injections, blood transfusion, or tissue transplantation. All these ones can also give you the virus, also if they have not been done and a thorough check. Also have medical procedures that involve sterile cutting or piercing or accidental needle stick injuries. All these ones can also lead someone to getting HIV, more so for the medical personnel, because they can easily get into contact more so during an accident. All these ones can lead to or can put a person at risk of getting the infection. And the most important thing is how we can prevent the HIV. We always know the best thing is using a male or female condom during sex. That's the most important. Then being tested for HIV and sexually transmitted infection, so other STIs can put you at a higher risk for an HIV infection. So if you have one infection, it is possible that you could be having another. So the best way is you can always go for such tests. It shouldn't just be there. You live, you think at yourself. Most of those tests are for free. HIV, the blood pressure, you can simply get them for free. And then having a voluntary medical male circumcision, the procedure removes tissue in the foreskin that is vulnerable to HIV. So usually when someone gets circumcised, of course here in this case we're talking about males. I don't think females can be circumcised, but in this case, it enables if someone is circumcised, their chances of getting HIV reduce. However, this one doesn't mean that such a person cannot get HIV. It is wrong. Only when you're circumcised, your chances of preventing become higher. But it doesn't mean that you prevent yourself from getting HIV. So also male circumcision is important. Then we have doctors may suggest medicines and medical devices to help HIV patients, including. So we also have the things we can use to prevent transmission. For example, we have antiretroviral drugs, the ARVs. They can help try to reduce the viral load, and therefore a person can live longer. We also have oral pre-exposure prophylaxis, PrEP. PrEP is usually taken by people before having sex. It can also give some a kind of protection towards it, more so if you're going to have sex. Then you have ARVs, can also be used to prevent mothers from passing HIV to their children. It's also very important, also for pregnant women. So all those ones, and you also know the most common ones, but for us, for now, the most important way is of preventing is abstaining from sex. That's the only way to do. And then we note antiretroviral drugs given to people without HIV can prevent infections. We have already talked about that. When given before possible exposure to HIV, it is called pre-exposure prophylaxis. So the pre-exposure means you take it towards sex. Okay. Then we also have that one is called pre-ep. Then we have post-ep. The post-exposure prophylaxis. Post means after sex. Of course, when you suspect the person you had sex with had the HIV, there was a possibility, then you can go and take PEP. That one only works for some time. Mainly it takes 72 hours. After the 72 hours, you can take PEP and it works. And it is a heavy prescription, which can take about 28 days that you can take orally under the guidance of the clinician. And did you know that people living with HIV who are taking ARVs and have undetectable viral load will not transmit HIV to their sexual partners? That's one thing you should know. Like, there are times if someone gets infected and then they take the medication of ARVs as clearly prescribed by the medical personnel. After some time, when the viral load is not detected or you can't detect it, they are also unable to transmit to the sexual partners. And then also have access to ARVs and support to remain on treatment is therefore critical, not only to improve the health of people living with HIV, but also to prevent HIV transmission. So that's why the government always advises that don't stigmatize. Don't see someone having HIV and then you're speaking bad. Well, it's not good. We should advise those people to take the virus, and then after them taking the virus, it can help them heal. Because when they heal, they will not be also able to transmit to the people who are not having it. But if we stigmatize and then we speak bad about them, they will leave the HIV. Maybe we even lose them, yet they are people who are supporting their families. If not, they can also, out of ignorance, they can also spread to other people and they also get it. So the best way is, if you don't have, to abstain, and then you protect your body and stop behaviors that can lead you to getting the virus. But if you get it, you can take the ARVs and you reach a level where you cannot transmit to other people. And also, don't stigmatize. If someone has the virus, shouldn't in any way stigmatize them. We have here group activity. I know it will take a bit long, but you can carry it out. Hopefully, if you have your group nearer you there, you can form a group, and then you can form a group. You can make your skit, and then you can share it with me. I'll leave my emails and my WhatsApp contacts. You can record it. You can upload it to a TikTok on this. So that's the item that I have. Are we taking it? Deborah says she can't. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so That's our item in Uganda. Uganda has been a global success story in fighting against HIV stroke AIDS since the first case was discovered along the shores of Lake Victoria in the 1990s. The HIV stroke AIDS prevalence declined from 30% 5.1 in 2022. The success is attributed to a well-coordinated multi-sectoral response. Despite the excellent progress, globally, Uganda is ranked 50th of those with the highest HIV volume. The table below shows, so you can check that, then you can answer that. Hopefully, I don't know if you can find any hardship doing that. Maybe you can raise up your hand and then you let me know. Can we easily do this?
So, teacher, I'm asking, like, should we make the groups right now or?
Of course, it won't be easy in the way that we are performing this online. What I would like you to do is, I don't think everyone can access a computer where they can easily type. But another possible way to do it is you can maybe write this work on a piece of paper, then you scan it, and then you share it with me. Maybe on my email, maybe on WhatsApp. But the most important thing I wanted you to do in a group was acting a short skit on the spread or the transmission of HIV, and then prevention, and then advising people to prevent stigma. Mainly, it can just be a short skit. Or you can develop up anything. You can do a poem, you can do a song, anything. Then you upload it on either your TikTok. You also tag me so that I can see.
Teacher, I was asking that should we like discuss all this after Zoom or anytime we want? Because I'm asking, should we discuss this after Zoom? Like, for example, one can make a group, discuss after Zoom, get the answer, and then one person sends it to him.
Okay. Okay. The whole thing, I usually don't believe in hindrances, but I know, of course, you can form up a way you can organize. Maybe you meet, you make a community on WhatsApp. I'm considering all that, but of course, I'm also minding about the distance people have. There are some people who are using their parents' phones, and then maybe just after the lesson, they'll ask for the phone. So, but if you can, that's why I was saying the best thing to do is you can, most for the personal one, you can write it down on your piece of paper and then you scan it, you forward it for me. But for the group one, I don't know if you can maybe look for the way of forming a group. If you can form yours, it is good. I'm fine with it. Because I was thinking about the distance you have, but also you're coming from different schools. So, but of course, I don't see that as a hindrance. If you can find a way, well and good. You can even do it after this lesson. Okay, I think I can proceed. So the next one is the Ebola virus. Sorry. So Ebola virus has been so common also in Uganda. We hardly take so long without having the cases come up. Just this year, we had some cases within the eastern region in Bale, where we recorded even some deaths. So Ebola is something which is also very serious, and anytime it comes through, it also takes a lot of lives. Of course, this one gets its name from the Ebola River, which is found in Congo, and that's where the first case was identified. That's why it got that name. But apparently, we have a number of strains of the Ebola virus. There are about 3. We have one for South Sudan. So they are also a bit prevalent now. We no longer have only one strain. They are now very different. So let's go to understanding the signs and symptoms of the Ebola virus. The most common symptoms are similar to those of other infectious diseases, such as malaria, typhoid, fever. This makes diagnosis difficult. Just like I said, just like the way we fail to diagnose the HIV, also these other diseases is very hard because usually people use one symptom or sign to judge, which is very wrong because most diseases share shares symptoms and signs. So not until you go for a biomedical test, it's not always easy to identify that someone has a particular disease. But the most common signs and symptoms are fever, fatigue, muscle pain, headache, and sore throat, followed by vomiting, diarrhea, rashes, symptoms of impaired kidney and liver function. And in some cases, internal and external bleeding, or that's why you always hear that someone is bleeding their gums, blood is coming out of the nose, mouth. All those ones come because of when the Ebola has attacked the body and has taken there somewhere. Transmission, of course, usually it is transmitted through body fluids as well. But for this one, if someone has been sitting somewhere, or meaning it can also go through the droplets. When someone has it, the chances of you also getting it are very close. Just like we talk about the COVID-19, you remember, if someone had touched a table and then you also come and touch, it gets you. If someone has been putting on those clothes and then you also come and put on them, it gets you. So it is more or less similar to that of COVID-19. It can also be spread through the droplets. But most importantly, it is the body fluids like blood. How can we prevent it? Prevention measures and treatment of Ebola. The best way is regularly wash your hands with soap and water. Avoid the contact with blood and body fluids such as urine, feces, saliva, sweat, vomit of people who are sick. Also avoid contact with items that may have come in contact with infected person's blood or body fluids such as clothes, beddings, needles, and medical equipments. Avoid contact with wild animals such as bats, forest antelopes, monkeys, chimpanzees. All those ones are zoonoses. They are animals that can carry the Ebola viruses. So those are the main things we are supposed to do. We have put them there in the drawing for it to easily pick from it. So did you know that in 2016, the World Health Organization approved a vaccine for use against Ebola virus? It is believed that effective vaccines are the most infallible tool in eradicating Ebola virus. And this came up after the serious infections in the West Africa, where most countries were affected and led to a lot of deaths from such areas. So after that, that's when World Health Organization approved the vaccine. So in 2024, a localized Ebola outbreak was reported in 4 districts of Uganda: Mubende, Kasanda, Kampala, and Wakiso. And of course, we have got also more other cases which have come up. But this was in 2024. We also have others. We also have a task here. I see we are accumulating a lot of tasks. The best way was you guys to be doing these tasks before I can proceed. Of course, I'm going to handle a number of viruses. I'm going to handle hepatitis, Then we handle cassava mosaic, and that one shall be the last. So, and when I check on the time left, about 25 minutes. So I'm going to use the 25 minutes. I'm going to use like 10 minutes to explain hepatitis virus. And then I also explain the cassava mosaic. And then we shall use the remaining 15 minutes for interactions where you'll be able to ask or bring up any ideas. And then we discuss them up. Then we head to the closing of the lesson. I always believe we always keep improving. And as we go on, we shall be having more interactive. I always like having interactive classes. And I know as we go on, we shall keep them better. So in terms of environment, we shall not be having any disturbances of the noise and others. So yeah, I will take you to the hepatitis virus. Hepatitis is an inflammation of the liver that is caused by a variety of infectious viruses and non-infectious agents. Now we are finding these words infectious and non-infectious, and I know some people might be finding hardship understanding them. Infectious refers to those diseases or those diseases that can be like that can be transmitted to another person. For example, if someone has flu, another person can get it. So we say that flu is infectious. The non-infectious diseases are those diseases which cannot be transmitted to another person. For example, if someone has sickle cell anemia, there is no way those people can transmit the sickle cell anemia. So it's that sickle cell anemia is non-infectious. Why? Because you cannot give it to another person you're stayed to there, not in any way. So that's what it means. So we have viruses and infectious agents leading to a range of health problems, some of which can be fatal. There are 5 main strains of the hepatitis virus referred to as types A, B, C, and D and E. However, hepatitis B is the major concern because it is the most lethal. Like when you have it, it don't take a long time before you die. The prevalence of hepatitis B virus in Uganda is high, meaning it is very common. Prevalence means it's the number of times you can find it in the people of Uganda is very high. Okay. And then according to the Ministry of Health, this stood at 4.3. 4.3 is a very big figure, meaning out of every 100 people, almost 5 have hepatitis B. And this is a very lethal disease that can lead to death. So understanding the symptoms and transmission of and prevention of hepatitis B. Common symptoms of hepatitis B are abdominal pain, nausea, and/or vomiting. Abdominal pain, I know you know it. Nausea is feeling the urge to vomit. Okay. Then we have dark urine or clay-colored stools. So if you always produce dark urine and then clay-colored, I know you know the meaning of clay, somehow brownish. Then you have fatigue. Fatigue means you easily feel tired. Then you have fever, have jaundice. Jaundice is a disease related to the liver, like you saw the liver up there. Then you have joint pain, and then loss of appetite. All those ones are signs and symptoms for hepatitis B. I've shown them there. Then the transmission of hepatitis B, it can mainly be spread through direct blood contact and indirect contact with sexual fluids. Can also give it to you. Then mother to child during birth. Then have household contact sharing hygiene equipment, for example, razors, toothbrushes, and earrings. Then we have tattoos, piercings, papas, scarification, circumcision practices, all those can spread hepatitis B. And then there is a risk during any type of sexual contact. Then you have unsterile healthcare practices, sharing needles, all those can lead to the spread of hepatitis B among people. So we also have here, did you know? Now, usually we have here, we meet here another word called incubation period. Incubation period means that time a virus takes the fate can cause infection. Now, for the hepatitis B, it ranges from 30 to 180 days. I think that's a lot of time. Usually, you can get it. 180 days, those are about 6 months. So it means that after 6 months, can you really remember how you got hepatitis B? So it takes so long. But after it being detected, after infection, it can persist and develop into chronic hepatitis B, especially when transmitted in infancy or childhood. And it can easily claim people's lives. So we shall go to the prevention strategies of hepatitis B. It's a vaccine preventable disease, meaning when you're vaccinated against it, you cannot get it. Also, more than 1 billion doses of the hepatitis B vaccine have been given worldwide, and it is considered to be a very safe and effective vaccine to protect infants, children, and adults from hepatitis B. In addition to vaccination, there are other simple ways to help stop the spread of hepatitis B. Now, wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water after any potential exposure to blood. That's the best way. Then you use condoms with sexual partners, avoid direct contact with the blood and bodily fluids, clean up blood spills with a fresh diluted bleach solution, and then avoid the sharing sharp items of that discard sanitary napkins and tampons into plastic bags. Make sure new sterile needles are used for ear or body piercing, and we can do all that. It's important to remember that hepatitis B is not spread casually. It's not spread casually. It is not spread by coughing, sneezing, hugging, cooking, and sharing food. It is spread through direct contact with affected blood and bodily fluids. Bodily fluids like sweat, saliva, all those ones. So we shall also take that item. And then also have a number of items. Maybe I'll just share with you these items just because of that time aspect. I see it flashing out very fast. And then you have cassava mosaic. Of course, this is the only viral disease we have chosen for plants, simply because the plants are, we have, like, we grow a lot of cassava in our country, therefore we should understand which kind of disease attack it, and therefore their preventions, if possible. So cassava is one of the staple foods for Africans in different countries. Cassava plants are usually threatened by a serious disease that affects leaves and stems, known as cassava mosaic disease. Cassava mosaic virus causes cassava mosaic, a disease in cassava plants. That disease has led great losses to farmers, especially in areas where cassava is staple food for the community. So, like you see the healthy cassava here versus the unhealthy cassava on the other side. There are a lot of differences. And so, understanding the symptoms and the signs. So, like we saw here, affected leaves show a characteristic mosaic. Mosaic means they become folded, and of course they turn yellow or pale green with the patches interspersed with the normal green colors. The mottled appearance is the most visible and diagnostic symptom of the disease. So infected leaves often become distorted. You see down there. Let's go to how it is spread. We have chlorosis. Chlorosis means yellowing or loss of green color of the leaves. Then you have positive impacts the production, because when the cassava plant has been attacked by cassava mosaic, It means that if it puts the tubers there, then the tubers will not be edible, just like you see the figure there. The tubers can't be eaten because they have been affected by cassava mosaic. But of course, it also lowers the production in that for the cassava you will not have anything to take to the market or to even eat by yourself. And then cassava mosaic virus disease is a viral disease which is carried by insects such as white flies. When the white flies suck up after the plant, and they pick up the virus. I don't know if you've ever seen these white flies. They are very small, but they are those which usually spread that cassava mosaic. They are very small in size and they are white in color. So usually when they go and suck the sap from an infected cassava plant, and then they go and suck sap from from a healthy plant, then they'll transmit the virus from the unhealthy plant to the healthy plant. So the use of cassava stem cuttings from infected plants. Also, if you get stem cuttings from a plant which has cassava mosaic, you can also transmit to the to your garden, and of course, it's spread it all over the garden. Then you also have, though less common, the virus can also be spread mechanically through tools. So when you use a particular hoe to uproot cassava which was infected, then you take it to another cassava plant, you'll obviously spread it to that one also. Then prevention is mainly growing cassava species that are resistant. Of course, those are usually developed by NARO, the National Agricultural Research Organization. We also have ensuring that only clean, virus-free cassava stem cuttings are used. It is also very important. Managing white flies, of course, you can spray them, or you can use any other methods to prevent them from coming to your garden. Also have rotating cassava with non-host crops. We usually call them catch crops, and that can help prevent the virus spreading. Also educating farmers about cassava mosaic disease, symptoms, transmission, because most farmers don't know about this disease. Usually when they find it, some of them say that my garden has been bewitched, or they often take it as just something normal. So educating them and they know about the disease can help to increase yields and prevent it from being spread. Also, cleaning the tools before use is also very important to prevent the disease. So we have sample items here that we can use. Okay, so I know I've taken out of time. We are only left with about 13 minutes to the end of the lesson. So for now, I always leave this time for question and answer for those parts you didn't understand well. Maybe I can break them down, or we can even bring up new ideas concerning what you have covered, or you can even mention the strategy we use for revising. And of course, in that sharing, you can help another person. So for now, remember, we shall stick to the topic. You don't ask outside what you have covered today. Secondly, we should not use hate speech. Okay. Don't in any way use any hate speech. So just be free. You can raise up your hand and then you ask a question, or you bring up an idea. Or you can also similarly type it in the chat room.
Excuse me, teacher. What makes cassava bitter? Like, is it the virus that makes it bitter, or there is another reason why? Teacher, what makes cassava bitter?
Okay. So like I was saying, it depends on the type or the species of the cassava. Not all of it can be, bitter because of the cassava mosaic disease. But usually there are some species of cassava, there are even those ones which are poisonous. So depending on the species, that's when the cassava can be bitter or not bitter. But it might not be because of one reason of being of the cassava mosaic or the infection. But there are some species of cassava that are naturally bitter.
Thank you, teacher.
So, well,
Excuse me, teacher.
Naira Lubowa,
Excuse me, teacher. I'm just curious, like, okay, like if the cassava mosaic is not treated, could it also like spread to humans, but not okay, like as cassava mosaic?
oh no, no. Of course, it is a plant disease, so a human being can't get it. Just like a cow can't get malaria, because malaria is specifically for humans. Like the plasmodium can only live in humans, but not in cattle. So the person can only spread the cassava mosaic, can spread the cassava mosaic from one garden to another, but the person, him or herself, cannot get it.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
All right. Mukisa?
So, like, do you mean that? Okay, my question is that how can it be transmitted from one garden to another? Is it through carrying these stems to another garden? Or?
See, I'm even just here on the page of transmission. We said one, the first thing which transmits them are the white flies. Usually when they gland suck, from a particular plant which is infected by cassava mosaic, and then they also go to another plant which is healthy, they will take the virus from the unhealthy plant to the new plant. And that's how they'll spread cassava mosaic to a new plant. But also say that when you also pick stem cuttings from a from a diseased plant or the plant which has been infected, then you'll also spread the cassava mosaic. Also, on other times, when you use the farming equipment, for example, a hoe for uprooting cassava, and then you also going to use the same, for uprooting cassava from a sick or the infected cassava plant, then you go to a healthy one. You can also transmit the cassava mosaic. Is there any other? Okay, if there is none, then I'll ask someone to give us a closing prayer, maybe, if there is none. Sasha? Hey, do these people want to give us a closing prayer or they have questions? Let me start with Sasha.
I wanted to give the closing prayer.
Okay, let me first hear from Najuma, if she was also on the same.
That's why I wanted to pray.
Okay, I think I'll take Sasha because I unlimited her first. So Sasha, you can pray for us.
Let's humble ourselves and we pray. Mighty Father, King of glory, we thank you for the gift of life. We thank you for all the provisions, O Lord Father. Lord Father, we thank you for enabling us to attend this lesson, and we thank you also for enabling us to complete it successfully. We hope that everything that you have learned, we may be able to grab onto it, to hug it and be with it, O Lord Father, and may it help us as we continue, O Lord Father. Lord Father, bless that teacher that has taught us very well, O Lord Father. Bless him because he has made us understand every concept, O Lord Father. Lord Father, send your Holy Spirit to guide us in whatever we do. Protect us as we leave this lesson. Be with us. In Jesus' name I've prayed. Amen.
Amen. See you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Guys, bye.
Bye.